So friends, could you use some good news on the accountability front? Me too. Well, the Supreme Court just refused to stop Steve Bannon from having to report to prison on July 1st. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, there's no two ways about it. It's been a challenging 24 hours, and we're going to have plenty to talk about in the coming days. But here's all I want to say right now. We are all going to get knocked down from time to time. But what's more important, we're always going to get back up. So on this Friday afternoon, we're going to take on a good news story. Good news on the accountability front, because another one of Donald Trump's criminal flunkies is headed to prison for the crimes he committed in violation of our nation's laws. Here is the new reporting. This from HuffPost. Headline: Supreme Court rejects Steve Bannon's bid to delay prison sentence. And that article begins, the Supreme Court on Friday rejected a bid to delay a prison sentence for longtime Trump ally Steve Bannon as he appeals his conviction for defying a subpoena in the congressional investigation into the U.S. Capitol insurrection. Bannon filed an emergency appeal after a judge ordered him to report to prison July 1st for a 4-month sentence for defying a subpoena from the House committee investigating the January 6, 2021 attack. The court previously denied a similar request from another Trump aide. The court rejected it without explanation, as is typical. There were no noted dissents. Defense attorneys have argued the case raises issues that should be examined by the Supreme Court, including Bannon's previous lawyer's belief that the subpoena was invalid because former President Donald Trump had asserted executive privilege. Prosecutors, though, say Bannon had left the White House years before and Trump had never invoked executive privilege in front of the committee. And friends, those are the kind of issues raised by Steve Bannon and his lawyers that we have a legal term for. They're no-brainers. Donald Trump never invoked executive privilege. So Bannon and his lawyers saying that he enjoyed some kind of executive privilege protection, a no-brainer. All my editorial addition. The article continues. A jury found Bannon guilty nearly 2 years ago of 2 counts of contempt of Congress, one for refusing to sit for a deposition with the January 6th House committee, and a second for refusing to provide documents related to his involvement in the Republican ex-president's efforts to overturn his 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden. U.S. District Judge Carl Nichols allowed Bannon to stay free while he appealed, but recently ordered him to report to prison after an appeals court panel upheld his contempt of Congress convictions. The panel later rejected Bannon's bid to avoid reporting to prison. Another Trump aide, trade advisor Peter Navarro, has also been convicted of contempt of Congress. He reported to prison in March to serve his 4-month sentence after the Supreme Court refused his bid to delay his sentence. So, for those of you scoring at home, that makes 2 Trump flunkies who committed federal crimes and are now paying the piper, are serving their prison term. The first is Steve 3 shirts to the wind Bannon, and the second, Peter the Green Bay Sweep Navarro. The article continues. Bannon is also facing criminal charges in New York State Court, alleging he duped donors who gave him money to build a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border. Bannon has pleaded not guilty to money laundering, conspiracy, fraud, and other charges, and that trial has been postponed until at least the end of September. What a guy, that Steve Bannon. Recall, he was also indicted federally for bilking Trump supporters out of their money with his fictitious We Build the Wall Foundation. And of course, Donald Trump, obviously concerned that his supporters had been defrauded, pardoned Steve Bannon. But New York State Court prosecutors said, yeah, not so fast, Steve, because your conduct also violated New York state law, so we'll be prosecuting you, even if a criminal president saw fit to pardon you for your crimes. But for now, Steve Bannon will be reporting to the Federal Bureau of Prisons on July 1st to begin serving his 4-month prison term. May end up being the first of his prison terms. We'll see how his New York prosecution plays out. And 10 days later, 10 days after Steve Bannon reports to the Federal Bureau of Prisons and becomes an inmate, the former criminal president of the United States who pardoned Steve Bannon for his earlier federal crimes himself will be sentenced on 34 felony convictions, crimes that he committed to try to steal the 2016 presidential election. Progress on the accountability front? I think so. Because Steve Bannon finally having to serve the prison term that he so richly deserves for his conduct, like justice, matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.